Your network is your network. Welcome to Mindset and Marketplace, where we dive deeper into the secrets of building strategic relationships. Today, I'm excited to have Tim Hewing. Tim, thank you for joining us today.
Thank you, Bara. It's really quite an honor to be on your podcast with you. We've been waiting a long time for today to happen, haven't we? So I'm very excited to be able to be your guest today.
Indeed, I'm excited to. Jim, may you share a bit about your background and what you do?
I'd be glad to. I'll be very brief because my background is very long. I've been in business quite a long time, but it is most easy to say I've been CEO of a very successful company in the United States for a number of years. A company that was named 4 times one of the 25 best places to work in America. So was a wonderful chapter being a CEO. I was also, though, then after that, the global managing consultant for all of Franklin Covey worldwide, as it related to my 2 books, The 4 Disciplines of Execution. I was there for 14 years in that role. I absolutely loved it. I got to travel all over the world. I never came to your country. I wish I had, but I got to go to 21 different countries and teach leaders all over the world. And then now for the last several years, I've been an executive coach. I've been working one-on-one with leaders everywhere. I have 27 CEOs that are my clients. I speak with every month at least, some of them more often than that, and I'm truly enjoying that role as well. So those are really 3 of the major marking points of my professional life, all of which have led me right here today to be a guest on your podcast.
It's my pleasure to have you, and it's impressive that you have this much experience.
Thank you, my friend. I'm most grateful, and honestly, the 2 books I wrote have been the thing that have enabled me to meet the most new people, like you. You and I came together in some ways over those contents, and the books themselves have been translated into 16 languages and sold millions of copies all over the world. So it's really quite a privilege to still be representing. I think we're going to talk today a little bit about the 4 disciplines of execution.
Definitely, we'll have a question about that.
Awesome.
To start, your coaching and leadership spans industries, cultures, and continents. How do you advise leaders to use networking as a tool to build strategic partnerships that align with their organizational goals and personal values?
I think it's a wonderful question. And, it's a question that more leaders need to be giving quality thought to. So perhaps our podcast today will be one of the things that encourages them to think about your question more deeply. Because to me, the essence of where networking is powerful is when it enables a human connection between 2 people and allows them to understand each other and to see the world through each other's eyes and to meet at a place of common values or common purpose. I think the least effective, the worst way to think about networking is simply about growing your business.
Mm-hmm.
In other words, to think about networking as only transactional, and as many people do all over the world, to think about networking as what's in it for me. How can I get something from you? Now, there's nothing wrong with being in business, and there's nothing wrong with thinking about serving our customers and having an economic benefit in return for that. That's all good. But when that's our sole purpose, I think we really miss the most important part of networking, which is this human connection. So when I'm coaching the CEOs who are my clients today about how to use networking, I encourage them to think first about making human connections, and second, about how those connections can be valuable to the business.
Mm-hmm.
And I think when we do that, we're more authentic, we're more genuine, we're more giving in our relationships, we're willing to make a contribution to the people we meet, as well as perhaps someday getting something from them, and so when people can come together in that way and in that place, I think networking becomes a very powerful thing where business success is the byproduct rather than the reason we do it. The reason we do it is to make the human connection, and those human connections are what drive success in our businesses.
Couldn't agree more. your first goal when approaching people should be how can I learn from them? What can I learn from them? And how can I benefit them instead of how can they benefit me? Or is this connection beneficial for me actually? Okay, you may approach things or people as if this is beneficial to me or not, but you should not think of networking and connecting with the people as something that is how do we say it?
Here we say sometimes transactional. Don't think of it as
100%.
simply a transaction, you know.
Exactly.
But I don't know if you'll. I would love to tell you this quote. One of my great teachers was Dr. Stephen Covey, who I'm sure you will have heard of.
Yes,
I had
I've read his
14
book.
years working for that company, and one of the things that he always taught was deposit before you withdraw. In other words, he taught all of us to approach human connections by first thinking of how can I contribute? How can I make a deposit for you?
Mm-hmm.
So that then later, when I'm in need or when you can be helpful to me, I have a kind of balance that I can withdraw from. And in that way, we think first of our contribution and second of our withdrawal. It's a very powerful way to go about building relationships, as you were saying, through powerful networking.
It's like a bank. You
It's
put
like a bank.
and you take. You never take more than you put.
That's right. That's right. In fact, one of my phrases you may have heard on our communication that you and I've had on LinkedIn is to deposit twice, withdraw once.
Mm-hmm. Right.
And if you hold the mindset of deposit twice, withdraw once. So in other words, I won't ask something from you until I've done two things for you. If I've
Mm-hmm.
done two things for you, I can ask for one thing back, perhaps. But
Exactly.
deposit twice, withdraw once is a very good rule to live by, both financially and professionally.
Guys, I like this mentality. Jim,
Wonderful.
yeah, Jim, you've coached and trained more than 70,000 leaders, and this is a big number and very impressive. So, what's a common mistake that you see among leaders when it comes to networking, and how can they make this mindset shift to form more impactful connections?
Yeah. You're such an excellent question. By the way, you're a wonderful podcast host, and you're
Thank you.
asking really
Thank you.
important questions today. So I'm very happy and honored to be able to answer those questions. And you know, there's two things I would like to highlight. Perhaps more, but let's start with two easy ones.
Mm-hmm.
The first mistake I see people making is they approach networking by trying to appear to be something that they are not.
Uh-huh.
So they're not being authentic. You know, they're acting more confident or more important or more wise or educated than they really are, and they're trying to maintain this facade so that the other person will like and value them more. But what actually happens when we're not authentic is people sense it, don't you think?
Exactly.
People realize
Exactly.
there's a very common phrase called being fake rather than being real. You know, if we approach someone and we're portraying ourselves to be something that we're not, the truth is people sense it. They realize something's wrong, you know, and so it undermines everything that we're trying to do. So my first advice I offer all of my clients is in every interaction, don't be anyone other than yourself. Approach the other person as the truest version of yourself. And that way, if there's a connection, it will be a real connection because they're seeing you as you are. You know, I think that's so important. And the second one, although I think I could give you 5 or 6 on this.
Yeah, go ahead. Go ahead.
But the second point that matters to me a lot is building trust through follow-up.
Mm-hmm.
In other words, if we meet someone and we're authentic and we establish a connection, then at some point we are going to make a commitment to them. We're going to say, I'll get you that information, or I'll connect you with a person that I know, or I'll help you be introduced to someone who could be helpful to you. Whatever it may be, we're going to make a commitment.
Mm-hmm.
But what matters is we follow through on the commitments that we make. In fact, I've heard it said many times, Brad, that the single greatest way to be perceived as a trustworthy person is to do what you say you will do. Whatever you say you will do, you do it. So if I say to you, you'll have that report by 9 o'clock tomorrow morning, then it's critical that I don't bring you the report at 10 o'clock.
Okay.
Because I will have broken my commitment. You see what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
So by being faithful, by doing what we say we will do, following through, people begin to believe that we can be trusted. And all great relationships are built on trust.
100%.
Later, they may have financial, implications. They may have longevity. They may have many aspects of a relationship can be positive. But I think all of it rests on the foundation of trust. And the simplest definition of trust there is anywhere in the world. You and I are in different countries right now as we have this conversation. No matter where we are, trust is always about doing what you say you will do, being true to your word and your commitment. And when we do that, we build a foundation that almost nothing can shake with us. So with all my clients, it's my first thing I say to them. Let's be clear. We are going to have a relationship of trust, and that means we will both do whatever we commit to do for the other. We'll be able to be trusted. And that provides a foundation that's really stronger than anything else we can do.
Amazing. You talk about trust, and I believe the 2 points you've mentioned are linked, like knowing yourself and being yourself helps your counterpart or the person you're connecting with trust you more and believe in your words and what you say.
That's so true and very wise what you just said.
Thank you. Jem, your book, The 4 Disciplines of Execution, has transformed how organizations achieve their goals. How leaders can use these principles in networking and forming strategic partnerships, and how can they know that these partnerships contribute to their strategic objectives, organizational strategic objectives?
Well, another wonderful question, my friend. This is really important, and I can only imagine the leaders who will hear our podcast. You are asking questions about the things that are most important on their minds. So congratulations again on the things that you've asked today. You know, the 4 Disciplines of Execution has created a very unique place in the world in terms of all the copies that have been sold and all the leaders who have adopted it. I still to this day receive an email almost every day from a leader somewhere in the world who is practicing or using the 4 Disciplines of Execution.
Amazing. I read it too, by the way. Yeah.
Oh, excellent. And it was published, quite a few years ago. So to still be popular, to still be a bestseller, is a confirmation that the things that we've written about in that book are true and valuable. But what I like most about the 4 Disciplines of Execution is they enable a leader of anything, any team, any organization, even a personal network, to translate strategy into action. Now, you're younger than I am, and everyone who sees the 2 of us on the camera can tell how much younger than me you are. And I say this as though I were an older counselor for you. That the greatest trap leaders fall into is spending all their time developing a strategy.
Right.
And leaders, in a sense, fall in love with their strategy. They're proud of their strategy. They're excited about the strategy. They even make a beautiful PowerPoint presentation about the strategy, and they make a presentation, and everyone's applauding.
Yeah, they think it's the best strategy in the world. Yeah.
Right. And then what happens is we have to execute the strategy.
Mm-hmm.
So strategy without execution is virtually meaningless. So the reason our book, I think, has been so popular for so many years all over the world is because it is completely focused on how you take strategy and make it executable.
Mm-hmm.
Now, we present four things. I won't go at any length about them. Our time is short today, but I just say them very, very quickly. The very first of the four disciplines, discipline one, is the willingness to focus on what matters most and focus less on what doesn't matter. So in other words, it's this discipline, hard thing to do, to say that one or two things are the most important and everything else is secondary. Because, everyone wants to think 10 things are the most important.
Mm-hmm.
Everyone thinks they have focus, and then if you say, well, tell me your most important priorities, they will give you 10 or 12 or 14 priorities. Well, if you have 14 priorities, you don't have any.
True.
If you have 14 things that are number one, nothing is number one. So discipline one is about getting clear on what matters most. The second discipline is about doing the things that move the goal. So in other words, once I know the one or two things that matter most, then I put all of my energy into the few actions that drive those two goals. In other words, I don't spread myself across hundreds and hundreds of other things. I stay concentrated on the things that will make a difference. So on the first discipline, we call it the discipline of focus. On the second discipline, we call it the discipline of leverage because it's doing small things that create big results.
100%.
And if you understand those two, then the final two are very easy. The third discipline is about engaging other people. It used to be a time when you could simply tell people what the goal was and they would go and work passionately on the goal. And we're living in a very different time now. People are asking deeper questions today. And they're asking, why does this goal matter? And why does it matter to me? And why should I give my best effort? Well, we call all of that engagement, the ability to engage the team into the passionate pursuit of the goal. And if you don't help people have a sense of why something matters, why it's important, what the benefits are going to be, if you don't give them a part in setting and describing that goal, they won't work at their highest possible level. They may work, but they won't give their best. So discipline 3 is about engaging the mind and the heart of every single person who works on it. And discipline 4 is something you and I have already talked about today in this podcast, because it's the discipline of accountability. In other words, just a moment ago, we were talking about trust, and trust is based on doing what you say you will do. Well, the word for that is accountability, right? Discipline is to say when we commit to something, we absolutely follow through. We make sure that it happens. And those four things, those four simple ideas, give any leader anywhere the ability to take their beautiful strategy and make it executable by applying those disciplines.
Whoa, I really liked them, and I really liked how you stated them, and you linked them to networking and forming strategic partnerships. Thank you so much for joining us today. It was really valuable, and I really, really liked our first episode of our first English version of the podcast. Thank you so much.
Wonderful. You're so welcome. And I just say again, I'm deeply honored to be your first English podcast guest. And it's good because it's the only language I know, so I'm glad you chose me for the English one. and I hope it's the first of many times we may be together. But congratulations on the launch of your wonderful podcast and on all the things you're doing to make the world a better place and to help leaders lead at a higher level. Very proud of you and very proud to be your friend and honored to have been your guest today on this podcast.
Likewise, Jim. Thank you for tuning into Mindset and Marketplace. Your feedback helps us grow, so please leave us a comment and share your thoughts. Remember, sharing this episode with others who may benefit from our guests' insights helps us spread the knowledge, and strengthen the community of business leaders. Stay connected.